Are we about to pull the quietest power move of the entire NFC? Or are we letting the clock run out on a chance that could tilt the balance in January? Picture it, 3rd and 7, cold breath in the air, Ford Field shaking, and a veteran closer who doesn't blink when the season hangs on one snap. You feel that? That edge-of-your-seat electricity is back, and it's not hype for hype's sake. It's the kind of tension that turns good teams into terrifying ones and turns playoff games into statements. So before anyone claims, it's over or it's too late, ask yourself, what if the smartest move is the one nobody sees coming until it's already done? Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, your home for real talk, no fluff, and the loudest heartbeat in Detroit. If you love this team like we do, hit that like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because today we're peeling back layers most outlets won't touch. I'm going to walk you through the cap levers, the locker room calculus, the timing windows that separate rumor from reality, and why patience can be a weapon. I'll also tell you exactly what we're watching over the next 2 weeks, and how one subtle decision could rewrite our defensive ceiling. Let's set the stage with the only truth that matters in January football. Closing games is a craft. You don't discover a closer, you install one. We've got the star who bends pockets by sheer will. We've got the scheme that morphs from 4-down thunder to simulated pressure misdirection. And we've got a front office that plays the long game. But there's a difference between being dangerous and being inevitable. Inevitable means the quarterback knows the clock is the enemy, and so is you. Depth is the word nobody wants to hear until it's too late. Rotational integrity is what keeps a pass rush sharp at 58 snaps, not 28. It protects your alpha edge from the oxygen drain of constant doubles. It lets your coordinator call the exotic stuff on 2nd and 10 because he trusts the backside contains won't bust. It's what turns almost sacks into drive killers. Ask any team that ran out of gas in the 4th. Depth is a scoreboard decision. The market knows this too. Veterans don't sign for logos. They sign for roles, windows, and leverage. Teams don't wait because they're indecisive. They wait because a day can change guarantees, a week can change leverage, and an injury across the league can swing price. There are calendar beats, post-week 1 guarantee dates, bonus conversion windows, injury returns that turn maybe into move. Smart front offices surf those currents instead of fighting them. Meanwhile, on the whiteboard, the chess looks like this: stand-up rusher in a wide 9, stunts that drag guards into no man's land, 5-man presentations that force the protection to declare, and a veteran who can rush with a plan. Long arm to forklift, inside counter when the tackle. Over sets. Spin only when the guard's eyes drift. You don't teach that in August. You lease it from a resume that's already been through January. Quick pit stop, Lions family. If you're rocking with this breakdown, smash that like and share it with a friend who lives for trench talk. Your support is what lets us dig deeper than the headline. And I want your take today. If you could add one skill to this defense, raw speed off the edge, inside swim on 3rd and long, or a closer with a nasty long arm, what's your pick and why? Here's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to break down the cap math without putting you to sleep. We're going to map the timeline checkpoints that matter. We're going to talk role, snaps, and usage in Aaron Glenn's sub-packages, and then, and only then, we'll address the real headline everyone's dancing around. No rush, no click chasing. If we're going to talk about a win-now move, we do it with a win-now level of detail. The cap story is more flexible than people think. You can weaponize per-game roster bonuses to avoid paying for Sundays a veteran doesn't play. You can stack not likely to be earned incentives tied to sacks, snaps, and playoff wins so money only flows if production does. You can use low base, playing time triggers, and even modest void years to stretch the footprint without mortgaging the future. This isn't financial gymnastics. It's the difference between can't afford and smartly structured. Timing, too, is a blade. Wait long enough and veteran guarantees shrink. Move too late and you miss the acclimation runway. Aim. Just right and you get value plus fit. Enough time to absorb terminology, not so much time that you're paying for a month of conditioning. There's a sweet spot where price, readiness, and need intersect. That's not indecision, that's strategy. All right, you've waited, you've argued in the comments, and you've earned the straight line. Here it is. The real conversation on the table isn't a splashy all-in trade or a nostalgia tour. It's a remodel. Specifically, a cap-smart, incentive-heavy structure that would make a Za'Darius Smith edition viable without handcuffing the 53. Call it a rebuild of the deal rather than a chase for the name. The concept is simple. If the role is right and the price is disciplined, you unlock a closer without closing your future. What does remodel actually mean in football terms? Think low base, heavy per-game actives. Think sack milestones and snap rate escalators that pay for impact, not history. Think playoff wins as multipliers. Add a reasonable set of void years to smooth the 2025 cap hit without committing money. Protect yourself with care clauses. Align expectations with a 30 to 40% snap share that spikes on money downs. That's not being cheap. That's being accountable to production and health. On the field, the usage is where this really sings. Pair the alpha with Smith in NASCAR packages. 2 edges, a stand-up mug over the guard, simulated pressure from the nickel, and force a right tackle to choose between the long arm bully and the inside counter from a 3-tech twist. We've seen how a veteran who rushes with sequencing helps the young guys rush with patience. Suddenly, 2nd and 9 looks like a passing down you can attack instead of defend. Culture check matters. Dan Campbell's standard is clear. You play through contact, you finish through the whistle, and you don't compromise the room. Smith's resume carries 3 Pro Bowls and a reputation for studying protections like a quarterback studies coverage. That kind of presence is a multiplier if the role is bought into. The remodel only works if the buy-in is real, if he's cool being a specialist closer with alpha moments, not an every-down savior. Risk? Of course, veteran edges don't get younger. Soft tissue history is real. And every snap you give a vet is a rep you're not handing to a kid who needs the live fire. That's why the structure matters. Per-game money mitigates availability risk. Incentives align payoff with impact. Snap targets keep the legs fresh for the 4th quarter in December. If the risk profile doesn't match the room, you walk away. Simple as that. Counter-argument time. Let the young pass rush grow. I hear you. But playoff football is a portfolio. You invest in tomorrow and hedge for today. A remodel isn't mortgaging the future. It's renting a specialist for a narrow, high-leverage job. If the youth wave wins the reps, fantastic. The incentives never trigger. The cap stays clean, and your plan still works. If the youth wave needs a month, your closer keeps you on schedule. Now the timeline. There are 3 checkpoints. 1. The early season readiness window where playbook absorption meets conditioning. 2. The health updates on your current depth that either ease the urgency or crank it. 3. The trade deadline horizon where price gets weird and desperate teams distort value. The remodel move sits best in window 1 or 2. Cheap enough to justify, early enough to matter, disciplined enough to keep window 3 as optional. Schematically, think how Glenn can steal edges without selling the farm. Align Smith reduced. Over tight ends and force chips that slow routes. Use simulated pressure to bait slide protection away from Hutchinson, then isolate Smith on a guard who's light in his set. Run TE stunts with a 3-tech penetrator and let Smith loop into daylight. Classic, closer stuff that doesn't require 60 snaps, just the right 20, and don't sleep on the human arc. Veterans with something to prove are dangerous. A remodeled deal is essentially a competitive contract. You don't pay for what you did, you get paid for what you do now. That lights a fire. It also sends a message to the room. The standard is the standard. Produce, and you cash. Don't, and the cap. Doesn't cry. That accountability travels. So, where do I land? The remodel makes sense if, and only if, 3 greens align. The cap stays nimble. The role is specialist, not savior, and the locker room fit is additive. Miss any one of those and you pass. Hit all 3, and you've added a 9th inning arm. To a bullpen that's already nasty in the 7th Lions Nation, I want you in this conversation. Would you sign on for a remodeled, incentive-heavy deal that pays for sacks and January wins, not for name value? Or do you let the young Wolves eat all the snaps and bet on internal growth? Tell me in the comments. If you're feeling this kind of deep dive, cap mechanics, scheme translation, and culture fit, drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss the follow-up when the next calendar window opens. Because that's the truth of today's headline. This isn't a fireworks show. It's a blueprint. The real story isn't whether a big name walks through the door. It's whether we're disciplined enough to build the door the right way. A remodel for Za'Darius Smith is the most Lions move possible. Quiet, calculated, and aimed squarely at moments when the whole season fits inside one breath. And if the moment comes, we'll be ready to exhale.